evening once more. Welcome to our prayer insight sessions, and you are welcome. Please, before we even start, to our regular followers and the other followers, please like us. Let's get started. As promised yesterday, today we are going to be talking more on my testimony. The Bible says whoever has a son has a testimony, and that's exactly what we are going to do today. I won't spend too much of the time, but I'm hoping God will help us to cover the basics as far as my testimony and I call it a decorated life, because a lot has happened, good or bad. I've learned to come to a contract with God where I say, Amen, thank you for everything that happens around my life. It doesn't matter whether it's good, it doesn't matter whether it's bad. All I do is to say thank you, because I know He always has a better plan for me. Now, just to start, I start and say I've got scars. Some of those scars are hidden, some of them are visible. Few years ago, 2 years ago, to be specific, I was not feeling okay, and then after the diagnosis and all that, I allowed the doctor to do what they know best, and then they did the diagnosis, and then came a day when I had to start with the actual treatment. Now, on the day of driving to the hospital, I had a little incident where I lost conscious, and then I just tripped and then fell. When I tried to rise up, my body was so heavy, I couldn't control my body. But the first thing that I did, I shouted the name Jesus. I said, Jesus, I'm supposed to start with the treatment, and here I am falling. I need strength enough to drive to the hospital, be on the driving seat, drive the car until we get to the hospital. I requested, and he responded immediately, instantly. I drove. On arrival at hospital, I pulled myself to the doctor's rooms. On arrival, I was rated as critically ill, to a point that I had to be admitted. When they admit, they will take the blood that will give them where I'm standing, and then it was further confirmed that I needed immediate treatment. Right straight to ICU. Remember, I was going to start with the treatment. Things changed. I'm right to ICU, diverting from the initial plan. And then what happened after that, they did all the processes up to a point where they called my wife, and they said to her, please come to the hospital as early as yesterday, because what they were seeing was a matter of death and death. Not life and death. This is the carnal space that they are operating on. With their expertise, they just saw death after death. Right. Then I went to, I was admitted to the ICU. Day 1 to help. Day 4, the doctors had a helpless situation. They did not know what was happening. And here I'm talking with specialists who are highly experienced. Day 1 to day 4, helpless as they are, we took the results, of which they didn't know what to say out of those results. Day number 6, Day number 6, the doctors disregarded the results that they tested. Meaning, in their view, they needed to restart the entire process. To their surprise, when the second results came, it aligned with their thinking, but still, the very same doctors had question marks on some of the results that were coming from the blood. And this is where conflict started. Many suggestions were posed to say, maybe this is what we need to do. I remember the group of doctors had to sit and discuss my case. And I'm talking experts with over 30, 40 years in the industry. And as it goes there, my life journey, my strength had just gone from where I was to almost nothing. Where my infection count and everything just went down to such a point where I was helpless. In ICU, for your knowledge, I went to ICU and I stayed there for quite some time, and I don't remember anything. The only thing I know is what I have been told, that this and this was happening. I lost conscious. I couldn't do, I was just helpless. But guess what? God brought a team of assessors, team of people that stood in the gap and said no. This was also the time where the very same doctors had told my wife that she must expect the worst from what their carnal eyes are seeing. They don't see positive results. And she made a declaration here and there, together with the intercessors who were praying for me. They declared that he is going to live. And that's the attitude that kept us going, because we know that the one that is in us is greater than the one that is in the world. But again, the sickness and the challenges, the catastrophic situation where I was written off to a point of being asked, where is your policies? Are they up to date? So to them, they look at it from what the Bible says, that for me to live is Christ and to die is gain. Why am I mentioning this? I would rather die without doing anything that will disappoint God after running such a journey, saving him from a young boy up to where I am today. So when I looked at it, it says, the Bible actually says, for me to live is Christ, but to die is gain. If you look at it, it is to me a win-win situation. If I die and I have worked for God, it's a gain to me. I'll be with Christ. You see, it's a win-win situation. For me to die, I'll be with Christ. And that kept me, for me to live is Christ and to die is gain. It's a win-win situation. Some of the damages into my body while they were doing all the different procedures and all that were so bad. One, I had seizures. Seizure, simply put, is mild strokes. I had a situation with the vocal cords. My voice was almost gone. I couldn't even talk. You wouldn't hear what I talk. And they came with different suggestions. They wanted to cut my throat and then put some injection. And with the grace of God, and we piggybacked on what Jesus will do. We said, Lord, we need wisdom from you. We went backwards, way backwards. We went into intense prayer. Intense prayer, day and night, where we said, Lord, Now we know what we want. The doctors have their own report. We are rejecting this type of a report that they're saying. And this happened, the timing of this was very interesting because it happened over the Easter weekend. That was last year. Easter weekend, it happened where they wanted to do this. And then that's a very critical time for us as Christians, where you can just be instructed on things that will impact me for the rest of my life. Where they were going to cut here, I would have to close with a cloth because the voice will not be coming as it was designed by God. And we refused. And that refusal raised the tension. I believe the kingdom of darkness was fighting directly to ensure that I don't get healed wholly. Because when God heals a person, you get healed completely. You don't partly get healed and allow the devil to have a portion where it says you are only partly healed. Temptation it will throw away and remind me of the history. So we chose Jesus because we knew that we serve the God that specializes in possibilities. The doctors and all that trusted their processes. We trusted in the name of the Lord. And happening through Easter weekend, where Jesus died on the cross of Calvary to save people like you and I today. We knew that there comes a time where we listen to what the specialists are saying. We respect them for the knowledge that they have. But there's time where you raise to the next level. You listen to what God says. And if it is the will of God, if it was the will of God to take me out of this place, I would have gone without doing nothing. I remember praying together with the team of intercessors that this is not the time. There comes a time where you have to be stubborn in your faith. There comes a time where you have to say, no, it's not going to happen. If Elijah could stop the rain, so can we. We've been given the power and the authority. So it depends on what we believe in. We chose God and He showed up. In ICU, they declared what they declared, and we rejected it. And the name of the Lord today, as I look from the previous stories that were happening and the damages that I had, to a point that my left knee was paralyzed. I could not even walk. It was so swollen. It was terrible. But Jesus came through. And today, as we speak, I started, after recovering, I was on a wheelchair. I moved to the walker. I moved to a stick. I could not even drive. When I started learning driving, I could only drive a manual car, and it was a struggle. I could not walk. I did not have strength. I had lost weight from my usual weight to just about 50 kgs. So I've lost about 30-something kgs. But we kept on hoping and believing in God. I remember people will come to me and say, you need to help God. We know of so and so who can help you with this one. We know of this prophet that can help you. I left them to talk whatever they're suggesting and all that. And then I said, do you know who I know? Do you understand the God that I serve? Do you know the team of intercessors that's standing in the gap praying for me day in, day out, fasting on my behalf? You come and tell me today that this is the right thing to do. How can I help God, the one who created everything by the power of a spoken word? The only thing is to open my mouth, and He's given me that challenge in the Word to say, call unto me and see what I can do. And I'm giving you the capability to do even beyond what you can think and imagine. You will do more than I, as Jesus, has ever done in this earth. So we've got the power, and His power shows up. So when I was admitted in ICU, I was then moved to the normal ward. And challenges after challenges, temptations after the temptations, lost my mind and all that. There were serious fights where 2 possible operations that could have damaged my life for good were proposed. Without anything that we trust, that we know from the medical space, because we don't come from medical space, we are not learned in that space. We rejected 2 operations that the doctor had suggested we go and do. Why? What gave us the strength to reject and argue with the specialist who knows everything else from the medical side? But then, when we read the Bible, it talks about Jesus at 12 years. He was arguing with the doctors. He was 12 years old, but he argued because of the conviction in him. He was a doctor himself. He was a physician. In fact, the Bible doesn't say he was a physician. It says he was a great physician. We rejected, just to sum up everything, we rejected the proposal where the doctors wanted to, because I had struggles with swallowing. Whenever I took a teaspoon of water, I will choke. The first one where they wanted to operate me so that I can be fed using whatever they know best, it created tension with the doctors. It created tension with everyone else. And the talks were so bad to a point that people thought we are rejecting, we are rebellious and all that. But until we started talking about Jesus, and some of them hearing the prayers that were happening in the ward in isolation on daily basis, that's when they started to realize. And then the other one was the one that I just explained that we rejected, where they wanted to cut me to sort out the vocal cords. This is the message I want to give to you as I conclude. If you trust in God and God alone, God hides what He likes. God protects what He likes. God can allow you to go to a valley of your life. God can allow things to happen. It can be at your cost or my cost, but it's a benefit to someone. I'm reminded of Abraham and Isaac, where Abraham did things that Isaac went and did. He was not there when it happens, but he repeated the same thing that his father did, Isaac. Isaac repeated what Abraham did in the same place. So some of the things cause for rejection, some of the things that happen, the spells that devil and his angels of darkness try to do, we can cancel it in the name of Jesus. So with these words, I just want to close by saying, I said a testimony about my decorated life. Why am I saying that? I'm going to take you back. I like using the history as a reference point, but I don't like to use the history for the sake of using it and thinking the history will work on my behalf. But just to remind you, just to show how decorated my life is. 1999, it's a couple of years ago, I started working. My first salary, I went back home. I was still coming I was coming from a prayer session where I said I'm dedicating the first month to thank God for providing for me. My first ever job. Here I am living Joburg, going down to Limpopo. We went past Muketi. After Muketi, during the taxi violence, the taxi I was in was shot. I was shot at, and about 8 people passed on from the gunshots as well as the capsizing of the car. I was cut down. I had so many scars as part of the process. But one thing that saved me, because my knee was cut down, if there was no bone, I would say from the knee down, my leg would have been gone. Now, when it capsized, with the blood that was oozing from all over my body, the first thing that I said was, I said, Jesus, not now, heal me, I will save you. This blood started, subsiding, coming out. I tear off the clothes, wiped myself, went through the farms, slept on top of a tree the whole night, because the farm that was there was dogs that were barking at me, and I slept on the tree the whole night without pain medication. The only pain medication was God Himself. So these things, this amen stuff, it works. I've seen it in me. I'm not talking something that I was told, because we see miracles happening on TV, and then we get excited and we think we know. I'm talking things that I've gone through, things that makes me a strong person, things that strengthen my faith. And I wish the same for you. I pray the same for you. And Jesus, if He can do it for me, He can do it for you. He's a good God. He does not sleep nor slumber. He watches over us at all times. Thank you so much. God bless you. I hope you were inspired. We thank the Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.